Hi, welcome back to the Scent Advocate. Tonight we're holding court. Several fragrances in my collection are, in some circles, reputed to be inspired by one another, to have fragrance twins, and in some cases have been accused outright of mimicry. Tonight I'm going to talk about several of those fragrances, compare them to the scents they allegedly are twinning with, I guess, and see what I think in front of all of you, render my judgment, and let you know whether I think they are heavily inspired, whether they are identical, whether they are fragrance twins or fragrance siblings, and ultimately whether I think it makes sense to have both in your collection. Stay tuned until the end, friends, because the most outrageous of comparisons is coming last. So stick around. You didn't see this one coming. Tonight's beverage of choice, coffee, of course. Let's jump right in, shall we? The first pair we'll talk about are, I'll start out with a story. Several years ago, there was a fragrance that burst onto the scene, took the world by storm. Its notes, beautiful sounding. And then from what I heard, the fragrance was absolutely stunning, unique. People were obsessed. Everyone wanted it. A lot of people got it. Many could not because it sold out so quickly. What did that do? It drove up demand. I heard there were a ton of fakes out there, people getting defrauded all over the place, and this frenzy for a fragrance that was virtually impossible to get after a few months post-release here in the United States. So what did I do? I was not going to jump on board a trend. Absolutely not. I don't do it. And besides, there were a lot of creators out there, content creators, talking about fragrances that came awfully close. And I said, why not? Now, I'm not talking about one that intends to duplicate another. But the idea behind the fragrance that I focused in on was it would scratch the itch. It was beautiful in its own right. So I moved forward. It was a blind buy. I got the fragrance and I loved it. That fragrance was Oh, the Audacity by Penhaligons. And do you know which fragrance it is reputed to be very similar to? I'll tell you in a minute. If you know, you know. Stick around. Oh, the Audacity by Penhaligons is a 2023 release. This is 100 ml. It's an EDP, and it goes for about $295. The notes in this are black pepper, orange blossom, frankincense, saffron, rose, vanilla, leather, and ambergris. Beautiful stuff. I got it. I loved it. And that was the end of it. But then the other one came into my life. Babycat by YSL. Have you heard the comparison? Let me know in the comments. So Babycat. This is, by the way, a Dominique Ropion fragrance. This is an EDP. It is 125 ml. It goes for $490, and it is a 2022 release. The notes in this one, black pepper, elemi, the same as in Oh, the Audacity, pink pepper, olibanum, saffron, bourbon, vanilla, suede, and cedar. So let's compare the notes. Both have black pepper, elemi, saffron. There's leather in Oh, the Audacity and suede in Babycat, not identical, but awfully close. And let's see. There's frankincense in Oh, the Audacity and olibanum in Babycat. So there you have those two. The fragrance profiles. My daughter tested me last night, and I failed. I knew there was a difference, but I couldn't tell which one was which. It's been a little while since I've worn them, probably a couple of months. Babycat ends with a very vanilla forward, slightly suede pepper. Oh, the Audacity, vanilla, leather, a little bit of creaminess, and the black pepper is there, but it's much more muted. So both of these fragrances are seen primarily as vanilla leathers with some black pepper going on, but and some incense. But smelling them both, in the opening, they're very, very similar. In the dry down, I see a huge difference. Oh, the Audacity is much more bold in its overall fragrance. The leather is more bold. The vanilla is more bold. The black pepper is definitely there, but it's subdued in its projection. Babycat presents as more soft, powdery a little bit. The black pepper is there, but more pronounced than it is in Oh, the Audacity. I think they are very similar. If it had been up to me, let me say, I would not have both in my collection. I am grateful to have both in my collection. But if they're so close, why do I have both in my collection? Well, first I got this, then I was gifted this by my husband. I had been talking about Babycat nonstop, and I acquired this one and stopped talking about it. But my husband remembered that I was talking about Babycat a lot. He wanted to add to my collection and get me something I really loved, and he did. I adore this. If it were up to me, I would not have purchased both. But since I have them both, I enjoy them both. My thoughts about another person's collection, if I were giving advice, and I'm not any kind of advice. You guys know that. But if I were giving advice, I would say pick one, and honestly, I'm more an Oh, the Audacity person. I think you get more bang for your buck with this one. It is gorgeous. This, if you've smelled this might come up a little less impressive in its projection and longevity. Both are fine, but this one knocks it out of the park with longevity and projection. So it really just comes down to whether you want the more bold, audacious version of the leather vanilla with a hint of pepper, or something more subdued, maybe a little more feminine leaning, in which case you'd go with this one. What are your thoughts? Have you compared them? Do you have one or both in your collection? Let me know. So, are they fragrance twins? No. Fragrance siblings? Yeah. That's what I have to say. All right. Moving on, the next case on the docket is incredible fragrance. Roja's Diaghilev. This is a treasure in my collection. I've talked about it many times, but it is said to be inspired by another fragrance, and I'll let you ponder what it is. If you know, you know. If you don't, get ready. So this is a chypre. It is cumin, bergamot, tarragon, lemon, lime, orange, peach, ylang ylang, rose, heliotrope, violet, tuberose, oak moss, civet, leather, and ambrette. This is an absolute gem. This is 100 ml. It's a Parfum. I don't have the year when it was released in front of me, but it wasn't recent. And this goes for about $1,000. Big conversation between Mark and I before I got this. It is a stunner, and I use it very sparingly, which is why I went tiny spray on the paper. It's exquisite. Absolutely exquisite. It makes such a bold statement. It is classic. It is longing. It is complex. It is deep. It is art. It's a stunner. But is it unique? Have you smelled Mitsouko by Guerlain? I have read that it inspired Diaghilev. I don't know if this is true, but I have heard that. Now, let's compare the two. This Mitsouko, by the way, is one that I purchased in the past couple of years. I don't know if it's been reformulated. I have heard that it has been. That doesn't make it a fact, but that is what I've heard. Now, I did recently acquire a vintage decant of Mitsouko. This would have been from the, I think, 70s or 80s, and it did smell a little different. Could it be because it was just a very old fragrance and the formulation is the same? Yes, I don't know, but there was a difference to me when I smelled them. Mitsouko is a 1919 release. It is this one, an EDP. It is 75 ml and it goes for $160. The notes in this one are bergamot, rose, peach, ylang ylang, jasmine, lilac, oak moss, spices, cinnamon, vetiver, and amber. So how do they compare? Well, they both have ylang ylang. They both have citrus, bergamot specifically. The oak moss is the same. And I think they both have rose. Yes, they both have rose. But how do they compare? I find these easier to compare smelling the bottles. When I smell the bottles, this represents the way they smell dried down on me. Okay, so, and I've compared these two many times, just so you know, this is not the first time. Diaghilev, yes. Diaghilev comes across as more animalic in the classic sense. I would not call it animalic, but the cumin is there. The civet is there. Beautifully presented and offset by those stunning florals and the powdery aspect of the heliotrope. The gorgeous bergamot opening, very classic bergamot. Now there are other citruses in there, but oh, that bergamot, it's stunning. Very tastefully done, very silky, not silky, velvety. Yes, velvety. Mitsouko, its presentation, and I think this comes primarily from the jasmine being a little bit indolic and the oak moss being pronounced, even though this is a recent sale, and I have reason to believe this bottle was generated in the past couple of years. This has, it's not animalic, it's an oceanic animalic, like an ambergris. I get that in this. I don't see it among the notes. I don't hear it in descriptions, but I get that out of Mitsouko. To me, They occupy the same genre of fragrances, right? The Chypre. They present very differently to me. I do not think these are fragrance twins. Is it conceivable to me that Mitsouko inspired Diaghilev? I guess. If you hadn't told me that, I wouldn't have thought it. To me, these are very different fragrances. They are not fragrance twins to me. They are not fragrance siblings to me. Are they both sheeps? Yes. Are they anything closer than that to me? No. Do I think it's justifiable to have bought them both? The price is notwithstanding, yes. I do not think they are duplicative in my collection. I love them both. Diaghilev is heavier. That oceanic accord in Mitsouko, that, ambergris, maybe the slightest hint of a very nicely expressed seaweed is what I get out of Mitsouko, making it lighter, airier, and more appropriate for warmer weather. You wear whatever you want, whenever you want. Fragrance twins? No way, not to me. That's my verdict. Last, but certainly not least, the most outrageous of accusations. I still can't believe it. Are you ready? Le Labo, Santal 33. This fragrance by Frank Vogel, the nose behind it, this is a 50 ml. It is an EDP. It is a 2011 release, and this bottle goes for about $240. The notes in this: sandalwood, leather, papyrus, cedar, cardamom, violet, iris, and amber. Wow, so much hype around this. I absolutely had to try it. I get a ton of cedar in this. Made a little bit less resinous and sharp by that beautiful violet and iris. The sandalwood presents beautifully on me. I have heard it accused of resembling, right here, dill pickles. So folks, this is a 710 ml jar of fresh packed kosher dill spears. Ingredients in this: cucumbers, water, distilled vinegar, less than 2% of salt, calcium chloride, polysorbate 80, natural flavors, turmeric extract, and colors. Wow. By the way, these are Vlasic's. I don't know whether Santal 33 was accused of copying Vlasic directly, or whether it was another varietal of dill pickledom. I don't know. But this is what I had in the fridge. Jackie and Mark love them. I love them. We all love them. But is it fair? I say no. I think Santal 33 has been wrongly accused. I call into question all evidence to the contrary. And I believe that the case against Santal 33 should be dismissed with prejudice. Absolutely. You cannot accuse it again of mimicking dill pickles or dill pickle juice or anything having to do with a fermented cucumber. And I wish it Godspeed. because it is an icon among fragrances. It is a beautiful, unique presentation of sandalwood. Yes. I also think you can have both, as I do, and you're committing no crime. Pickles are for everyone. Santal 33? Maybe not. Not if you think it smells like pickles. I do not. I think it's wonderful. On me, it smells great. No one's ever told me I smell like a pickle, ever. For those of you who disagree, leave me a comment. I'll respond. And that is the last of it, friends. Let me know what you think in the comments below on all of these outrageous accusations, some more outrageous than others. Absolutely. I think it's fair to say that court is adjourned for this evening. And if you enjoy Fragrance Court, I will do more Fragrance Court videos, holding court again in about a week, if you enjoy this. And if you did enjoy it, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're not yet a subscriber, please consider subscribing. We have a blast here. I'll see you in the next one.